Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I've gotten more reports of the connection between what are parasites and demonic problems. This whole situation is extremely interesting, and the erratic and crazy way that humans act that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. I believe now can be directly linked to parasitic demonic forces. Now, as usual with so many things, we don't know what comes first, the demons or the parasites and the demons, but I think they're connected. These aren't just invading species. They are the top of the food chain. Stupid humans with their pea pod racks that think they have vertebrae and big brains, which seem to mean absolutely nothing. The larger the brain is, even in animal species, the more proliferation of general deviant attitudes. Dolphins, which have a similar brain size of humans, are quite little sex twerps, known for their constant sexuality, their violence, etc. We want to say how wonderful they are because they're kind of fun-loving. The point is that any time that mankind has interacted with dolphins, there's huge sex stories involved in it. Particularly research done in the past by a woman who was constantly sexually assaulted or propositioned by dolphins. This is all very interesting. So it's not the size of the brain that counts. Birds are extremely intelligent and have pea brains, yet they are extremely intelligent, figure out, some use even tools, but they are very intelligent, as all animals are, and they're intelligent and able to do things based on their physicality. And elephants, not going to figure out how to make a screwdriver. You can't hold it. So the ignoramus understanding of intelligence based by humans is just laughable. So the point is, we get back to the intelligence that is the highest on the food chain is those who survive, and that is parasites, viruses, and funguses. As a matter of fact, funguses are the first intelligent species on the earth. They created the soil, apparently. It was funguses that apparently went out onto the rocks and then ate into them, creating dirt. Now, supposedly that's the way things happen. It's always interesting to find that out. And then, of course, what is living everywhere all the time? Well, viruses, which are nearly impossible to handle. And, of course, parasites who can go into every aspect of your reality and control you. It's quite shocking. I hope all of those Patreon members are enjoying the parasite lectures that are up there, giving things in detail. They're so frightening that it is beyond understanding, and the fact that we just ignore these things. So here again, I was dealing with a person, and it started many months ago with a person who approached me who has these very common problems where people are feeling they're under attack all the time, that they're being affected from the outside, that they're hearing voices, they're having all the things that easily label them schizophrenics and mental cases and all this kind of psychic trauma. And this is having, people are having this by the tens of thousands, probably millions and tens of millions. But nobody will admit it because they're going to put you in a rubber room. We recently got confirmation from government employees, particularly those within the CIA, that they're getting the same kind of psychic attacks. These, I believe, are psychic attacks that are based in the radionic weapons spectrum. And these people have constant headaches, they hear all sorts of things. All sorts of things are happening to these people. They are invading their hearing. They hear weird stuff all the time. Isn't this fascinating? Yet this will never be understood and swept under the carpet. This is the ultimate warfare against human and human, and we just don't know how much of these other things, where they come from. Did humans make these super parasites? Well, seems to me that's the smart thing to do. You want to take over society. Well, and we heard, of course, if people have any background to understand it, that there was a huge antenna set up by the Soviets to broadcast chaotic information to people, to make them goofy weird, to increase perversions, violence, illegal acts. And this was started in the 60s. This antenna, ironically, was powered by Chernobyl. So, the plot thickens. But certainly that's when society appeared to decay so rapidly. We started moving into the late 60s and 70s and so forth. So it is quite interesting. So I'm not sure if that is still broadcasting since Chernobyl is no longer functioning, or have they found some other way? I mean, things have changed and things have moved into the computer realm, the interweb. So the whole idea is that this is being, and they're, from what I understand, Europe and other places, particularly Britain, are spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year to defend themselves from Russian cyber attacks. And Chinese, etc. So these are all the things that are happening to disrupt society. It doesn't cost you that much if you are on the other side of it. You hire some people, they spend their days plotting and planning, similar to what the Swedish did for years, who had nothing better to do. Oh, let's cause some more terrible things on the internet. We are so bored here, eating reindeer meat. Of course, those crumb societies that the Scandinavians generally are. The cowards, they always have been, and in World War II they were neutral. So the whole idea is that we need to understand all those things that happen. I'm sure they're working together, and Sweden, of course, is one of the most unequal countries on the planet, where they have these super rich people who got a lot of their stuff illegally, and now are prospering it from it. So these are all things that go on. So I'm sure they can be bought for a nickel by the Ruskies. So the whole idea is that we have all these problems that are going on in the world today. But this parasite link. Now, we're looking into cleansing, and we can do this already to a large degree. Cleansing parasitic viruses, etc., using informational energetic fields. It's quite a research, and what we found is that we can cleanse them out. These things tend to change, which is very interesting. Now, one of the problems with taking, and we are coming out with another instant tincture, which will be handling all these parasites. All you're going to have to do is add alcohol to it, and you'll have a huge amount of anti-parasitical tincture to use. And this is will give you what you need. You need a lot of this stuff, and it would cost you literally thousands if you were to buy bottles of this stuff. And we're not really sure if they're any good or not. Well, we get the raw herbs, we put the raw empowerments in there, and you'll be able to access this to get rid of these parasites, and it won't cost you $40 a bottle. So we're working on that. We have our other antiviral, anti-miracle formula. That'll be coming out soon. And we're putting all this together. Like everything else, it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of money, and a lot of support. And basically, we don't have any of that. So getting back to the parasites. Now, when you cleanse them out in your particular system using these anti-parasitical herbals, you're getting things that tend to be not in your intestinal and other systems it can get to. A lot of this doesn't go through your full system, but obviously it gets into your blood and helps you as well. We want to target areas, particularly where parasites tend to go to, which is your brain. Now, what's frightening about parasites, and also illuminating, could they be the ultimate cure? Could they be the ultimate everything? Are we looking at parasites incorrectly? Well, when we talk about parasites, they're able to control every aspect of your life. They make you suicidal. Well, that means they could also make you brave. They can denudor you so you don't want sex. They also can make you into a sex maniac. They know where to go in the brain and how to stimulate it. Well, it seems to me instead of making nanobots, we ought to make parasites that we actually control, that we tell them what to do, which would solve a lot of our problems. Can parasites make you super psychic? Well, of course they can. Apparently, parasites can go into any area of your brain and consciousness functioning and take control of them. Well, we can see this. Well, let's go in there and nuke them. Let's get rid of them. Well, why don't we go in there and make them work for us? Now, this is what I'm doing with my new research, which I'll be releasing soon, of the fact of taking toxins and turning them into empowerments. So instead of being put in you for nefarious reasons, we're going to turn them around and use them for the good. Now, this takes a very high-level, highly developed Gnostic master with subtle energy physics background and, by the way, equipment. You got to really know what you're doing. And frankly, I don't know anybody in the industry but myself that has that level after working in this industry in general for over 50 years now, but of course in radionics and other things for over 40 years, and being involved with and using pretty much every single machine on the market. I have that knowledge to do this. So this is really empowering, and more on that later. But there is, again, this great connection between parasites and these demonic problems. Now, when people start kicking out the parasites, they get major relief. Now, the problem is that parasites get deep within you. So I'm assuming as we go on here that it's not going to eliminate things 100%. Now, people have gotten great value from using these things and cleansing their body. You're talking about a 70 to 80% reduction, which is dramatic, especially if you're being terrorized. So that's quite a difference. Does it go 100%? Well, this doesn't seem to be the entire case because I don't think we're getting all the parasites. And I think there are viruses and funguses and other things connected as well. You got to remember the people that put this together are the devious people on the planet. And of course, they're backed up by all those pat-on-the-back scientists, that want to work for the system, and they flash the flag or the badge in front of them, and they fall to their knees as the cowards they are. A lot of things we can blame in this world, we can blame directly on these cowardice, misled scientists who continue to feed the disgusting, putrid monster that consumes us all. And who is empowering them? Well, let's make sure that we understand that it's the scientists who in World War I invented mustard gas, going from killing hundreds to thousands in one battle. Well, it was a scientist. A German scientist, of course. But the point is that that's how it works. So we need to be very understand. But this is really a fantastic breakthrough. I think people have talked about this for a long time, but we really haven't connected. And now I've been able to connect it, and I've been looking into this for years. It has intrigued me ever since I saw the first documentary on these worms that get in your head. And we have these connected to the all access pages where you can go and watch this film, this documentary that's out there. We also have stuff connected to Patreon, specifically for Patreon members. If you want something done, people, if you want changes, go to Patreon and start giving a few dollars so that you're able to support somebody who's really doing something, unlike everybody else that's really working against you. If they do have discoveries, they will give it to the controllers, the fascist pigs out there that want to destroy you, and they won't do anything to help society. We have proof of this. We have free energy. We have cures for everything. They've all been suppressed. It's just unbelievable. So if you're going to continue to support the rotting system, well, you're going to get what you deserve then. So support people that really are doing something and doing more than talking. IGOS is an entire organization of products, and they're not products to make money. They're products to change the world, starting with you. And watch for my upcoming video here on anti-parasitical foods. That's right, there are foods that are anti-parasitical and certain supplements, and these are very cheap. As a matter of fact, guess what? I put that in all my herbs. So, tinctures, and you'll find out what they are. Coming up, stay tuned. But let's get back to this fact that this is a very serious problem of people that are hearing voices, being psychically traumatized. And this then connects into, if you're just getting that, this also connects into the bigger problem of people who are under psychological demonic attack, where they tell them to do strange things, to get themselves in trouble, even to a certain extent, kill themselves, and of course, get into serious problems where people, why do you do something? Why are we making these kind of acts? Why are we so driven that, in general, males will do anything for a quick orgasm, even if that means their entire life is ruined? This is not normal, people, and I think this undersexuality that women have and the oversexuality that men have are all parasitical based. And they're feeding on us. And for all we know, parasites may be extraterrestrial in nature. I mean, if you look at them, they're pretty scary looking. They look like something out of an alien movie, but a lot worse. Where do these come from? Are parasites a normal function of this reality, that it would take species? And does that fit with evolution, the fact that you cause species to commit suicide? Well, that seems anti, to me, growth in any way whatsoever. And what is the purpose of a parasite surviving endlessly, going from one species to another? Well, obviously that species, but this is not a species that we can look at. It's very much the Alien movie. One creature goes into people, feeds off of them, pops out, and goes into another, and they're feeding off of you. This is quite frightening in terms of the greater consequences. But when you go into the details of how these parasites can control everything, and here again, I recommend everybody join the Patreon so you can listen to this entire long recitation on parasites. And I've also done there. You can also look up different books on this subject if you want to get books. But the bottom line is that this is quite frightening, and people are ignoring it, and could be the reason why we have such perverted, evil activities. I mean, the kind of things that man has done to man makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And the level of brutality is beyond understanding. Now, where does that come from? And why does it continue to persist? Why is mankind so destructive to mankind? And even going past that, why are they so destructive to the animal life on this planet and the planet itself? Kind of like you don't come from here. You don't even live here, people, because you're a parasite from outer space. So why would you care? You infest people and that's it. Maybe they'll go back to whatever it is they came from, or who cares how and what their plans are, but most likely they'll survive some way. But when you get into all this stuff, it's frightening. These get into your brain, they tell you what to do on every single level, and if we can't beat them, we have to control them and maybe make our own that go after them and destroy them. But even better is, how do we use parasites to trigger all those things in our body that they can do normally? It's amazing how parasites can trigger everything. Why can't they trigger high states of immunity? Why can't they trigger high states of anything? Strength, thinking, consciousness, psychic empowerment. Why couldn't they? Well, they sure can. So there's lots of ways of looking at things. And you initially look at something as let's stamp it out. But in a lot of ways, let's figure out how we can control it. When we learn how to control it, and we put it to our own personal use, because we certainly need help doing so many things, and we certainly need higher levels of empowerment. But the connection between psychic type attack, many people call this psychotronic attack, electronic attack, they think that weapons are being used, etc., and there may very well be a massive targeting, as was done and it's still being done in many areas. But what are they doing? Are they triggering parasites to operate within your body? You know, this would be a much more efficient way of doing things. If you have to put beams out or control things, broadcast, well, this is all very primitive. If you can drop stuff from the sky that gets into everybody and then you trigger to activate it, well, that's pretty sneaky, isn't it? And it makes a lot of sense to me. So the whole idea is that if you awaken parasites, you don't have to broadcast to masses or individuals or anything else. That's very time consuming. You can get the same effects by using parasitical activation and making sure that this is what controls a person. Frightening, and it is here, it is now, and it's probably been here for at least 100 years. Now I think it's getting to higher levels. Why do people think that way? We're so quick to label people, and of course, that's how we control them. Yeah, we label somebody, which is in a not parapsychology, in a psychology book, which becomes a mental condition. Once that happens, it means that if you are labeled with that, you have no rights. Remember that. You don't get a trial, you don't get nothing. You're crazy. Now, you're a schizoid. you're schizoid, paranoid. So once you're labeled that, you do not have any further rights. Simple as that. So it's very interesting and a great way to control people without question. So you just label them crazy. They have no trials, no nothing. You have no rights whatsoever, and that's how they handle people. That's the big game. The big game is that. So, but it's now been confirmed, and I've looked at this for years, and it just gets more and more, one person after another. Everybody that's having some sort of psychic attack, some sort of demonic attack, the minute they get on parasite formulas, dramatically progress pretty well. Now, it's also a combination of other things. When you get into these spiritual energies, particularly this last person that contacted me, they used a lot of our bath salts, a lot of magical things. They're blocking using machines and radionic plates. This accumulated effort works extremely well. As I said, you're not going to be able to get rid of the parasites solely by oral herbs and so forth, because getting things out of your brain is near impossible unless it's done energetically. So you have to use radionic, energetic technologies to start getting these parasites that are now infected and are in your brain. Secondly, let's remember these things aren't some nebulous energy either. These types of parasites are connected directly to cats. Cats have them in their, breed them in their intestinal systems. Cats are everywhere. Cat poo are everywhere. Cats are the number one pets now because they require less maintenance. So we have cats everywhere. And people are not washing their hands. They're probably not even taking too much care of removing the feces and cat things. Well, it's just cat poo, so what? And generally, there isn't a problem. Even dogs have a certain amount of these kind of things as well. And you're not washing your hands. You have very intimate relationships with your pets. That's why you have pets. The point is that it's very easy, and it's probably everyone in the world that has any kind of pet society, which is all over. The Japanese are big into dogs, and cats have been around, and they're all over everywhere. So the point is probably most people have these or gotten these worms that are going into their consciousness. Now, what does this mean? Well, we need to do a lot more research. We need to test people. Apparently, you can test if you have this toxemia and that you've gotten from cats and so forth. It's something to look into, especially if you're having any kind of health problems, any kind of odd thinking, any kind of psychic attack, or you seem to be open to demons. And demons will come in and tell you to do all sorts of things to destroy yourself. Gee, just like the parasites do. You do unsocial things, you do dangerous things, all the things you do that'll get you into serious trouble. And they feed off of that because they feed off of your anxiety and pain. So this is all part of the process that goes on and something we should be very, very aware of. So it's been confirmed. Everybody should be taking anti-parasitical herbs right now. We'll be coming out with them very soon, and we'll be moving into that area dramatically here with a very much of a hybrid formula. Remember, these tinctures that IGOS comes up with are not just physical in nature. We use very high alchemical processes, and our herbs have these things in them. You're also, when you make your herbs, to do them 100% correct, you make sure they're sitting on energy plates. They have little pyramids on the top. You have tachyons inside. You have crystals inside. This is all critical to bring up the energy to a level that will destroy these things. Now, the plain herbs work pretty good, but they don't work to the level that when you have a proper alchemical herbal tincture made and you make it yourself, meaning you're getting the raw herbs there. All you've got to do is add alcohol, basically, and of course you need to get a kit that has the tachyons, the crystals, and other things in it. Very important. And you only need one of these. You use them forever. So they don't, it's not something you have to buy consistently. But these energy plates are critical to bring things up to those very powerful levels. So hopefully everybody is now fully aware of this. Parasites are a serious, serious problem, and I believe everybody is infected with them, and there are ways of cleansing them out using herbals and using energetic informational energy fields, and all of this is coming out now. And we're coming up with some simple things you can do right now, and basically everybody should be using these two simple items and a few others that are available everywhere, and by the way, are inexpensive. So stay tuned for that. Fight back now, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, and you can start off small by using certain particular herbal foods that are cheap and go from there. Until next time.